In this session, we'll be looking at the nature of social entrepreneurship. Now, it's often said that the poor are always with us, and the same can be said of disease, hunger, and waste. And in today's challenging times as a society, we are much less likely to think that central government should and can solve all these issues. We also have less confidence in traditional institutions to deal with these problems. And there is also a growing desire and belief that as individuals, we can make a difference as social entrepreneurs, and people within a social enterprise, people who care about others and society as a whole, are the people that we look to solve these complex social problems. Now, one of the ways in which such change can be achieved is through social entrepreneurship. So in terms of learning outcomes, by the end of this session, you should be able to firstly define social entrepreneurship, but you should also be able to explain the difference between a social enterprise and a for-profit business. And you should also be able to explain why social enterprise is important to both society and the wider economy. You'll also be able to reflect on the principles of social entrepreneurship and the challenges they face using a real case. Now, the Department of Trade and Industry defines a social enterprise as a business with primarily social objectives whose surpluses are principally reinvested for that purpose. From this, we can determine that social enterprises are commercially run, profit-making organisations that are driven by social aims. Their profits are reinvested into social, community or environmental objectives. Social enterprises use entrepreneurship, innovation and market approaches to create some form of social value and social change. But it's important to note that the primary mission of a social enterprise is always social. Social entrepreneurship is attracting growing attention, but along with its increasing popularity has come less certainty about what exactly a social entrepreneur is and what they do. As a result, all sorts of activities are now being called social entrepreneurship. So here, some clarity is needed around what is and isn't a social enterprise. Social enterprises operate in a wide variety of sectors, including health, education, retail, technology, renewable energy, the arts and employment. They can be local or global, and examples include credit unions, community loan funds, development trusts, or housing associations. So how do social enterprises stack up against their traditional SME? Well, these statistics demonstrate the importance of social enterprises and the vital contribution they make to the economy and communities. And here we can see that 38% of all social enterprises work in the most deprived 20% of communities in the UK, compared with 12% of traditional SMEs. Also, 38% of social enterprises have a female leader, compared with 19% of SMEs and 3% of FTSE 100 companies. Also, 56% of social enterprises developed a new product or service in the last 12 months, compared with 43% of SMEs, and 38% of social enterprises last year saw an increase in turnover, compared with 29% of SMEs. And in simple terms, the main differences between an enterprise and a social enterprise are that with a traditional enterprise, success is generally measured by how much profit you make, whilst in a social enterprise, success is determined ultimately by how well you serve your social mission. A traditional enterprise seeks to create economic value, whilst a social enterprise is driven to implement a strategic approach to corporate involvement in social and community issues. And with enterprise, the focus is mostly on what the customer needs, whereas with a small social enterprise, the focus is firmly on what customers want. Now let's take a closer look at the economic perspective. So with social enterprises, most, if not all, surpluses are reinvested to meet the social mission. So they need to be financially viable and also self-sustaining. Social enterprises experience similar growth patterns to mainstream business, showing that profitability and altruism are not mutually exclusive. They also create 9 jobs on average, compared with 6 for the average for-profit enterprise. So in terms of national impact, there are over 60,000 social enterprises across the UK with a combined total turnover of around £30 billion. Social enterprise accounts for 5% of all UK businesses, and the average number of employees across all social enterprises is 10. Together, social enterprises contribute 1% of the total gross domestic product in the UK, and 86% of social enterprises operate in health and social care in urban areas where there is real need. In the Scottish context, the impact of social enterprise is also clear to see in terms of their contribution to the economy, but also in the wider benefit they bring to society, as we can see here. So what motivates an entrepreneur to set up a social enterprise? Well, there's a long history of entrepreneurs with a social motivation setting up successful but socially responsible businesses such as The Body Shop and Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. But as we've seen, the social enterprise is about always putting the social objective first. There's also a long tradition of voluntary and community sector involvement in charitable initiatives, working with the public sector and more recently delivering government programmes, particularly through regeneration initiatives. In the UK, social enterprises, or the third sector as it's sometimes referred to, receives around £4 billion from government and local authorities and the NHS, with about a third going to housing associations. Now, if we take a major UK city like Glasgow, for example, then 35% of children and families live below the poverty line, and clearly this financial support from government to social enterprises looking at how to address this social problem indicates just how important the work of these organisations really is. When looking at the area of social enterprise, it would be useful to clarify here a few key terms. For-profit enterprise is essentially a traditional enterprise or business where the employees and owners work to make money and profit. They can and often do good work for the wider society, however they are motivated primarily by profit generation. An ethical business should not be confused with social enterprise. An ethical business works to minimise its own negative impact on society or the environment, which is not the same thing as social entrepreneurship. And just to be clear, social enterprise strives to maximise the amount of social good it creates balanced against its financial goals. So here we can see some of the key drivers of social enterprise. First, we have availability of funding. Now, voluntary and community organisations are being actively encouraged to move towards social enterprise where appropriate to help reduce their dependency on grant funding. And this can directly influence the propensity of entrepreneurs to set up social enterprises. Another important factor is community benefit. Now, social enterprises achieve social benefits through standard business practice, and in doing so they can create strong and sustainable communities, and more communities are looking to the social enterprise model as a vehicle for addressing the issues within their local area. Then we have employment, and for many social enterprises, becoming the employer of choice is a strong motivating factor for them as they look to create employment outcomes for their members of the community. And then we have government policy. Now, current government policy aims to encourage the development of social enterprise with regards to the delivery of public services in areas such as health, transport and leisure. The Public Services Social Value Act is the most significant development in this trend towards embedding social value in procurement. Under this Act, for the first time, public bodies are required to consider how the services they commission and procure might improve the economic, social and environmental well-being of an area. Now, the social enterprise has what is referred to as a triple bottom line, meaning that there are three core aims to consider. Firstly, we have the social aim, and this is always clear and might include outcomes such as job creation, training opportunities, or the provision of a local service. Social enterprises have ethical values and are accountable to their members and the wider community for their social, environmental and also economic impact. The next factor is social ownership. Now, social enterprises do not distribute profits to individuals, but instead hold their assets and income in trust for use by the community that they serve. And the next factor is enterprise activity, and social enterprises are directly involved in the production of services or goods to the marketplace, and they need to make an operating surplus. This can be earned from public service contracts that are not directly managed by the local authority or central government. In effect, social enterprises are hybrids. They're expected to perform in the market like a small business, but also to retain the management ethos and values of a locally defined charitable organisation. It should also be noted that while sharing similar attributes to traditional business entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs may be especially constrained by limited business skills, difficulty in accessing venture capital, and also organisational constraints. Now, the term social enterprise shows up frequently in the media, and as we will see, social enterprises can be found everywhere. And the reasons behind the popularity of social entrepreneurship are many. Interest in the social entrepreneurship model transcends the phenomenon of popularity and fascination with entrepreneurs. Social entrepreneurship is about driving social change, and it is that goal of doing something for the greater good and transforming society that sets the field of social entrepreneurship apart from other forms of entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship, therefore, is an appealing concept mainly because it holds such high promise. However, it could be argued that the challenges facing the social entrepreneur are even greater than those challenges facing the mainstream traditional business entrepreneur. Now, at the heart of every successful social enterprise, regardless of their individual social aim, you'll always find a solid business model. A key concept around social enterprise is social value, and social value has been defined as the additional benefit to the community from a commissioning procurement process over and above the direct purchasing of goods, services and outcomes. Whilst there are many examples of providers delivering social value, there's no authoritative list of what these benefits might be. And the reason for this flexible approach is that social value is best approached by considering what is beneficial in the context of local needs or the particular strategic objectives of a public body. In one area, for example, youth employment might be a serious concern, whilst in another, health inequalities might be a more pressing need. So what does the future of social entrepreneurship hold? Well, in the 1800s, the pioneers of social enterprise emerged in the form of workers' cooperatives, with the original use of the term social enterprise first being used much later, 1978. The 1990s saw a resurgence in social enterprise with the coming together of different organisations, including community enterprises, enterprising charities, and also other forms of social business, all united by the prospect of using business to create social change. Looking to the future, there is little doubt that social entrepreneurship is gaining in popularity. However, there is also increased interest in the issues surrounding corporate social responsibility, or CSR, and also sustainable enterprise and business ethics. And it's likely that the lines will become more and more blurred between socially responsible businesses and social enterprise, which are driven by social aims. One thing is certain, however, is that social enterprises are here to stay, and their importance to society as a whole in these difficult times is only going to increase. So finally, let's look at some examples of successful social enterprises that clearly embody the principles of social entrepreneurship. And firstly, we have The Big Issue. Now, The Big Issue is a street newspaper written by professional journalists and sold by homeless individuals. It was founded in 1991 by Gordon Roddick and John Bird, who were concerned at the rising number of people sleeping rough on the streets of London. The basic idea was based on a similar model in USA called Street News, and Bird had personal experience of both the print industry and of sleeping rough. Roddick and Bird believed the key to solving the problem lay in people being able to help themselves out of poverty, and they wanted to offer a legitimate alternative to begging. With the big issue model, all prospective vendors have to first prove they're homeless or vulnerably housed. They then have to undergo an induction process and sign a code of conduct before being allocated a pitch and being issued with a number of copies of the big issue as seed capital to get them started. Once they have sold these magazines, they can purchase further copies, which they can then sell for a 50% markup. With this model, vendors are not employed by the big issue directly and are not reimbursed for any magazines they fail to sell. Therefore, they must individually manage their own sales and finances carefully. These skills, along with confidence and self-esteem that they build up through interaction with members of the public while selling the magazines, are crucial in helping them to reintegrate into mainstream society. Help to these individuals is also given in the areas of housing, health, aspirations and financial independence. The Big Issue Foundation provides vital support and services to help these individuals on the journey to fulfil their potential, and it's a good example of an effective and successful social enterprise. Another such example is Cafe Direct. Founded in 1991 by a group of organisations which included Oxfam, Cafe Direct is the UK's largest 100% fair trade drinks brand and is one of the top 5 mainstream coffee brands in the UK. As the name suggests, Cafe Direct works directly with over 280,000 coffee, tea and cocoa growers in around 40 countries worldwide to improve the lives of 2 million people within its community of growing partners. Its stated mission is to champion the work and passion of smallholder growers, delivering great tasting hot drinks to improve livelihoods whilst pioneering new, better ways of doing business. Its vision is to work towards a rebalanced world which celebrates business as a force for good and measures success in the shared well-being of the communities it touches. Cafe Direct has won numerous prestigious awards for its work to improve communities and was the first fair trade coffee brand to carry the fair trade mark in the UK and the first fair trade product to be sold in supermarkets such as Co-op and Safeway. So hopefully that's provided some insight into the nature and extent of social enterprise and the important role it plays in society and the economy. So this tutorial exercise is designed to provide you with an opportunity to reflect on the nature of social entrepreneurship using a real world case. So UK-based celebrity chef Jamie Oliver is widely known both as a media personality and as a campaigner for the improvement of children's diets. However, he's also a social entrepreneur, having created a restaurant as a social enterprise called 15. And this restaurant aims to train and employ some of the most disadvantaged young people to become chefs. 15 is now a successful chain of restaurants operating on the social enterprise model. So thinking about what we've learned and having watched the 15 video, think about the following questions. Firstly, what did you see? The facts. Secondly, what do you think this means? The insights. And lastly, how does this business model differ from your idea of how a normal commercial business should operate?